Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Spooks Files. I am Timothy Tinklemeyer, and I'm here with my host, Mr. Hater.
Well, it's good to be back here on this fantastic and amazing podcast.
You don't have to lie.
Good, because I hate this place.
Alright, well, now that we have that established, I want you to go ahead and tell me, Mr. Hater, what do you know about the Rake? I know you know.
So like a
Seriously,
hard tooth
Mr.
rake? A leaf rake?
No.
I don't know anything about it, and that's not my name.
Okay, are you looking at this image of this mysterious trail cam creature?
Yes, I am. This weird deer or whatever.
I don't think that's a deer.
Pretty sure it is.
Okay, well, so your final reactions on this trail cam creature is that it's a deer?
I don't know. I mean, look at it. It looks weird.
You told me earlier that you had seen this image before. Can you elaborate on that?
So if you Google, you know what? I will prove it right here, right now. Creepy pic. Every single time, it is one of the first ones you find. Okay, well, these are all just like weird smiling people and people who see your dreams. Hang on a second, let me find it. Okay, like actual. Okay, let me try that. Hang on a second. Okay, well, hang on a second. Just keep waiting. Hang on. We can edit all this out. It's fine.
Yeah, it's not showing up on Creepy Pic, huh?
Creepy. Wait, no. Oh, horror pic. It's horror pic. Actually, sorry. Or okay, yeah, it's not how you spell horror. There we go. Okay, most of these I'm not able to see. I have safe search on, and
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what safe search would be hiding you from here, but
Okay, 5-10 years ago, this was like the picture. Okay, it's a while. Okay, it's been a while. So yes,
okay. I know what you're talking about. It's a very common picture. It's like a lot of people don't even know the origin anymore.
There's an origin,
and it's just like some weird trail cam picture. However, this is the Rake, and a little bit of context I'll give you before we start the story is the Rake is a creepypasta that predates even the Slender Man.
Oh, really?
Which, as well as the other creepypastas we looked at, those predated Slender Man as well. But the Rake is often lumped in with the Slender Man in that same field as being a creepypasta monster. So, let's go ahead and get into it. During the summer of 2003, events in the northeastern United States involving a strange, human-like creature sparked brief local media interest before an apparent blackout was enacted. Little or no information was left intact, as most online and written accounts of the creature were mysteriously destroyed. Primarily focused in rural New York State and once found in Idaho, self-proclaimed witnesses told stories of their encounters with a creature of unknown origin. Emotions ranged from extremely traumatic levels of fright and discomfort to an almost childlike sense of playfulness and curiosity. While their published versions are no longer on record, the memories remain powerful. Several of the involved parties began looking for answers that year. In early 2006, the collaboration had accumulated nearly 24 documents dating between the 12th century and present day, spanning 4 continents, and in almost all cases, the stories were identical. I've been in contact with a member of this group and was able to get some excerpts from their upcoming book. Now, we're going to stop here before we get into the excerpts. I don't think that book ever came out.
I would say, can we confirm that this book has been seen?
I will say, though, I personally am quite surprised with how well written this has been so far.
I would say this is probably better than the others we've seen by far.
Yeah. I don't know where that image comes from. That's something I hopefully we'll look into a bit. But this actually it feels like someone. Well, okay, I will say, Ever Dream This Man was not badly written, but it was not a story.
Yeah.
Compared to the other stories, this is definitely more well written, and it feels like if I didn't know any better, and I'm not saying it's not good because it's been a while since I've read this story, so maybe it holds up better than I'm expecting. But if I read just this and had no idea, I would think I'm in for something pretty good. But I'm not certain of that. However, we will go ahead and get going into this. A Suicide Note, 1964.
Okay.
Starting pretty far back, actually.
All right, brother. Here we go.
Would you like to go ahead and read the voice, the quotation marks for this one? Make sure you use your best acting.
That's a lot of pressure. As I prepared to take my life. Okay, wow, this started off hot and fast. Alrighty then. Okay, sorry.
It is a suicide note.
As I prepared to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage any guilt or pain I have intruded through this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once I awoke and felt his presence, and once I awoke and saw his form, once again I awoke and heard his voice and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever wake goodbye.
Found in the same wooden box were 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and 1 loose personal letter with no envelope.
Oh, am I supposed to keep reading the quotation stuff?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Dearest Lina or Lenny?
Lenny,
okay. Dearest Lenny, I have prayed for you. He spoke your name.
Okay, I'm gonna probably just a quick note. Actually, I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and ask you. What do you think so far from this very very vague letter?
So I'll be honest. Thus far, this is not going at all how I expected it to go. And so I can honestly say I am somewhat intrigued to see where this is going to end up.
Yeah, this is a much stronger start than
this
to
is
this
already
story
better
than
than any of the crap we've read the past few 30 podcasts we've done.
I'm very. If this is the same story I'm thinking of, I'm very excited to see how quickly this nosedives. But I'm having hope that this keeps this up, because that, it's not like that was groundbreaking necessarily, but that reminded me of something I'd imagine from an old like Frankenstein or something, like an old good story. Which, we'll go ahead and continue, but let's just say my expectations are now raised, and hopefully they're not kicked back into the dirt.
And I can't wait for them to get crushed.
All right, I'll go ahead and translated from Spanish.
Wow.
All right. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand. I will not sleep. His voice. Unintelligible text. Well, that's simple but effective.
Okay.
I thought that at first, after the third one, I thought it was just going to say I've experienced greatest terror over and over.
That's what I thought. I was like, okay, so he wasn't the best of writers. Clearly, this guy. This dude is just he's just retarded. Maybe the Spanish doesn't translate fully as good. Maybe he was terror, disgustingness. All of a sudden, it's just terror. I don't know. I don't speak Japanese, so I'm not sure.
Well, I'll let you take over a mariner's log from 1691.
He came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the Rake.
He just got like a formal letter like, I, the Rake, do humbly ask you to
Thou
leave
shalt
England.
leave.
It's like a Monty Python skit. Thou shalt leave England at the request of the Rake.
We have discussed, and thou shalt get thy butt cheeks out of here. That was the official.
Thou mustest leave the country unless thou wants the eyes of thou gouged out. Oh, that's great. Okay.
Creepypasta.
Oh yeah. Hey, that episode's a lost episode. I haven't even edited that yet.
Oh no. Now they just think we're
From
crazy.
a Witness, 2006. 3 years ago. There's no accent now. It's modern day.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do like a 3 years ago. I just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. We were all exhausted after a long day of driving. So my husband... Oh wait, that changes the voice. So my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. It's about 4 a.m. I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets, only to wake him in the process. I apologized and told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly he almost knocked me out of the bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for half a second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of my bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man, or a large hairless dog of some sort.
Okay then.
Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. Okay, we're gonna pause real quick.
Is she retarded?
You're gonna get me killed using that word over and over.
Probably, but it's a genuine question in this case because this girl over here is like she sees like a naked demon in front of her and she's like, I just felt like I needed to help him.
Well, so that's the thing. I'm trying to figure out because it could be some sort of like, I don't know what you call it, like some sort of like cosmic spiritual like manipulation
Genjutsu or
that's
something? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, legitimately, and this is something we've not gotten into too much, but a lot of creepypasta deal with things that have like a psychological allure to like the darkness, and maybe it's some sort of like thing that the Rake is doing, but it also could be that the woman is just overly empathetic and sees someone who looks like they might be hurt and doesn't, But I still think you'd be more worried about the fact that why are they in my house first?
So whatever happens to her in a minute in this story, she earned. She deserves.
Yeah. Another quick note that I find interesting. I'm not sure if you noticed this, but they have done a good job of each writer sounds like a different person writing it.
Yes, I did notice that actually. Which I mean, with 200 years difference of time, they better.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and get back into the story. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds. or probably closer to 5. It just seemed like a while. Just looking at my husband. The creature then placed its hand on his knee, and ran into the hallway, leading to the kids' rooms. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter, Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the lake." My husband drove his car into a lake that night, while rushing our daughter to the hospital. Oh, that one was kind of sudden.
Okay.
They did not survive. So, okay, real quick, I gotta stop there. Obviously, a dramatic jump, but what I'm curious of is he just desperate and happened to run off into a lake, or do you think it's implied that, like, the lake somehow caused that as well? I'm kind of not sure what... He could also have thought she was going to die.
He was desperate and careless and drove into the lake, but probably supernaturally the rake was influencing that as well. But like it wasn't like he was mind controlled and then veered off. It was like he missed the turn, but the rake kind of helped cause that. You know, if that makes any sense. That's how I kind of assume.
Yeah,
so maybe a bit of both.
I think I get what you... I didn't. Yeah, I wasn't saying mind control, but I was wondering if the rake like jumped at them, their car or something. But. The other thought I had, which is probably not the case, but maybe he was like just... It's probably desperation. I think that's the right answer, actually. Desperation mixed with like some sort of... whatever. The girl saying he is the... That is something... Because this story could totally be just like some sort of skinwalker monster type thing, and I know it's related to that. But the one thing they seem to note often is it's like there's some sort of effect where like... This girl who was maimed, this girl who was maimed is not even worried about her own life and is like in a weird trance state, like talking about the lake is what it seems like to me. Also, I will say that actually so far, I don't want to jinx it, ended up better than I thought, because I thought the other kid is apparently alive. But we're going to keep going and find out what happens to him in the next probably 3 paragraphs. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now refer to as the Rake. It took the 4 of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believe the accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any details, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages and never mentioned it again. Ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the Rake. That was the last entry in the log. So these are the things that we already looked at a little bit. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. Oh, so is that implying, like, right before killing her, he's like, I'm the Rake. And then he just, like, maims her. And he had that much time.
Hold this knife inside you real quick. Yeah, I'm the Rake.
Again, actually, one thing I forgot to mention, I will say, maybe whether you could call it cheap horror or not, the thought of the creature sitting there and it's like threatening that, like, it sits there and then it's like it just starts sprinting to the kids' room is probably one of the most
pretty
terrifying things.
Yeah, that's pretty
Because it's like it knows. It's like almost like it's not just like a mindless creature. It's like, I can maim you right now, or
give me the key.
and it's like yeah, and I think we had mentioned before that typically the more actual scary things are things that are realistic, and while maybe this creature is not necessarily realistic, the threat to children
is varied.
Yeah, and that's something that like always hits pretty close. And so like in that instant while reading it, I kind of and I had remembered something of that, but like I still was kind of like, oh, like you have that like fight or flight instinct of like I need to like stop that. But I've seen stories where that could go very wrong, and I think for the most part they didn't overdo it there, because some of the other stories I've seen to like describe the death or whatever, it's like you don't need to do that. I think what they gave was just enough.
Yeah.
However, I'm gonna keep going. We're almost to the end here. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit. Oh no, I set up a digital recorder near my bed and left it running all night, every night, for 2 weeks. I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling in my bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the second week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times normal speed. This took almost an hour every day. On the first day of the third week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the Rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to transcribe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke when it was visiting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts that have been going through my daughter's head, or the thoughts that must have gone through my daughter's head, makes me very upset. I have not seen the Rake since he ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know and fear that one night I'll wake up to see him staring at me.
That's nice.
And so, yeah, that's not the strongest end, but it's like I will be very honest, and I've already mentioned this. This story is way more well written than I expected.
So can I have the floor? May I have the floor? I know it's
Yeah,
your podcast,
please, go ahead.
but may I have the floor?
Yeah, I mean, it's your podcast, so you go ahead and take over.
Wait, what? Anyways, okay, so listen. so number one, pause for a second. We are at 26 minutes, but anyways. So number one, I look at this and I had zero expectations. I did have a lot of expectations that this was going to be a lot of dog crap, like the rest of them have been. And, rightfully so in my opinion. But anyways, it started off way, way stronger than the other ones have. And not like stupid strong, like where it's like, oh, he's running after me and he's wearing a green metal suit or whatever kind of crap. Like it actually like had like, rhyme or reason. These like accounts were like really simple, but I was like, okay, they're pretty good. And then we get to this, and all of a sudden you get like this full in like modern day, like this happened to your cousin 2 months ago type story. And this lady has been tormented by some demonic, garden tool, and is describing this dude who's like, haunting them and done all these terrible things. This dude here, my bro, this guy has murdered her daughter. Somewhat, at least, has caused the death of her husband. Was staring at them for who knows how long, which is like in their room or whatever, freaking them out. And then she's over here like, I should show compassion to this thing. And the thing said, psych, I'm gonna go murder your daughter. Goes and kills her, or at least brutally ruins her, and she probably would have died anyways. And then is just like, like coming into our house randomly and just like, staring at her. She just like knows. There's one of two things that happened here. Either she is being haunted by, the Rake or whatever, whatever this creature is, Or B, and here's the logical explanation, is she's in the loony bin. And I'll be honest, I'm not even leaning towards the loony bin one this time. Because it's a little weird.
Okay, so you said you had a lot of thoughts there. I'm gonna try to narrow it to the one thing you should know, and I think you realize this, but to be fair, she showed compassion, the slightest bit of compassion to it before it did everything to ruin
yes,
her.
that is true.
So
she still was an idiot.
Yeah, so you made it sound like she did. She was like, after all of this is like, but how are your feelings? Like I don't think she was like worried about that after that.
I wasn't there.
That does bring up what I was gonna note. We've talked about already how like this has, and I think you'll know what I mean by this, but if you want me to clarify, please do. But it has almost like a Lovecraftian feel of like there's some sort of deeper thing, like where they get the creature like almost like it gets people to think about it, and Justin's still alive, so that's nice. That kid survived, but
he's just terrified now for the rest of his eternity.
Yeah, this really like the story I remember. Everyone died in it, so like this is better and also creepier. But I think part of it, I might be wrong, but because maybe she's just looking into the lake because it killed her husband and daughter, and she's just trying to find out more or something. But because of the former stuff about like talking about that gave me the Lovecraftian vibe, I get the idea that like it's like the same thing, like she's getting like obsessed with it in like a supernatural way potentially that's causing her to be, it seems like I might be wrong, I think she is not the one collecting these, but she talked about doing research of her own.
Yeah,
I can't tell if that's the case. I will say overall definitely I will agree, definitely the best story we've read so far. And I'm gonna be honest, I remembered, I don't know if I even read this specific one. I must have read a different one because I expected this to be a dumpster fire, and it turned out to be pretty good. I'm going through.
Like, I can't honestly say that I hated this story. Like, and I mean, I hate horror, and I can't even say I hated the story. So I mean,
that's what I was curious about, because we were talking about this before, and you were intrigued at the beginning, and you seemed to generally think this story was well written. Do you have any further thoughts on that?
I definitely think the
ending,
the ending, I guess, it's going to be like each person will have their own opinion. Part of me is like really good ending because it doesn't give you any closure. Like it just kind of leaves it open, an open ending, I guess is what they call it, you know. So I could definitely.
I actually think that's an optimal ending for horror.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It's like
then the story continues, you think or whatever.
And there might be follow-ups to this. Who knows?
Yeah.
I've heard that there's a series, but I can't. I like how that leaves it open. That's how real stories are. You never find out.
Yeah. The other part,
Sorry
though,
about that.
is
Go ahead.
Part of me wants to go like, this was really stupid because why? Like I said kind of earlier, like they're just like watching the creature in their room and stuff, and we have, and it's part of the point. I get it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, if I'm just being nitpicky, is like, why is the rake in their house? We don't get any explanation of what it is, what it's doing, why does it do it. Who named the stupid thing? Okay, his grandmama gave him a stupid name or whatever. But that's a whole other problem for another day. But like everybody who got it was, like you said earlier, was like the rake, and people were like, what? The what? And he's like, yep. Mm-hmm. Maybe he just wants to be internet famous or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I was curious, because I expected you might have heard of the rake before. You've seen the image before. The story turned out to be better than I expected. Clearly than we both expected. I'm kind of in shock still that the story turned out to be good. What I will say, well, I was trying to address what you had just mentioned. I thought you were going to say why they didn't do anything, and I think the implication was pretty clear that they could tell that if they tried to move or do something, like, it was going to get the first jump. But yeah, it doesn't explain why he's there.
And like, he just ran away, too, and it was like he was almost, like, scared of the lady.
I think the idea of it, from what I've seen of the other things, is just, like, it was clearly just, like, trying to ruin her, like, mess with her.
It's gonna ruin your life real quick.
And I've read other stories of it, that, like, or at least I remember other stories of it where it sort of, like, comes back and continues, like, messing with people. So maybe that's the implication. I think
she did say that she thought it was in her room, so.
Yeah, I think it's definitely implied. It's coming back. Maybe she should have left England. But yeah, that's kind of funny. I'm imagining, like, the Rake has two moods. He either comes and slaughters your kid, or he gives you a letter and is like, "Hey, get out of here."
leave. So, yeah, what was up with that? Why did they have a letter? Whatever.
Okay, maybe it's like I said letter, but like obviously I don't think he actually gave the letter. I think they were just like, "Yeah, we need to leave." But like, I'm loving the implication that the Rake is like a landlord. Like, this is his land he owns.
This is my land.
And so that kid was because they didn't pay rent on time. He's like, "Okay, I'm not evicting you yet." But
that's so.
You know what? I need to collect rent. But you know what? I think
like, which kid? Which kid?
Yeah, which kid?
So he picked.
So, I think that sums it up. I think we have a good idea. So, just to give you a bit more idea before we wrap this up, the Rake, obviously, I say obviously, but not to you because you wouldn't know, but it became pretty popular. There's other stories about it. That's definitely the best one I've read of it. That image is everywhere to where people who don't even know about the Rake have seen that image.
Yes. Me.
The Rake is commonly associated with like the Slender Man era. Even though the Rake came first, once Slender Man became popular, the Rake kind of was pulled up with it, like some of those other creepypastas were. And out of the early creepypastas that we've covered so far, this I think is the best. To my utter shock.
Sure. And I did like the Dream one. As far as like that was the best one up to that point, but this one is definitely better.
Yeah. So what I will to go ahead and wrap this, what else will the last thing I'll say, because there's more Rake stories, and this was pleasantly surprisingly good. I will leave it up if there's any sort of demand from anyone who watches this, or any interest in general. We might revisit another Rake story later on, and see.
I definitely would be open to it, more so than I thought it would be.
Well, with that being said, to everyone here on Spooks Files, I have only one question for you. Who is that sitting at the end of my bed?